Hemp.net is an internet service provider. It has done all of the web design for Seattle Hemp Fest website. How many people have seen our website, www.seattlehempfest.com? I introduce you to my good friend and colleague, Robert Lunday, owner and operator of HempNet.
Hello, Seattle. Yeah. Right here in the middle of Westlake Center, you guys look awesome. For those of you who attended some of the marches against Prohibition last year, I'm sure you can appreciate the numbers we see here today. I love you all. Prepared a little something to say. Today we've been marching and speaking out against the numerous injustices brought on the American people by the war on drugs. And we may be a diverse group of people with differing opinions on the issue, but one thing is common amongst us all. The war on drugs has affected the lives of every one of us enough so that you're willing to get in the streets and march and say that things have got to change and the drug war is wrong. We know the drug war is wrong because it's fraught with injustice. Forfeiture laws are unjust because they allow a home or car to be taken without an individual to be charged with a crime. Mandatory minimums are unjust because there's no room to consider the circumstances that go along with the rest. The judge should have that option. The legislature should not be saying you go to jail for 10 years because you are related or heard about a drug bust. And the cannabis prohibition is unjust. Our laws are hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy that we can drink alcohol, which kills hundreds of people every year, hundreds of thousands. It's hypocrisy that you can legally smoke nicotine, and yet it kills hundreds of thousands of people every year. And yet I'll stand here and say you have the right to do that. You should, as a free American, be able to consume nicotine, to drink alcohol, and smoke pot. So, what's the result of this unjust war? Well, for example, there's a Mr. Gray, who was a U.S. Marine for 5 years. He went off and served this country in the Gulf War. He came back with numerous unexplainable illnesses, uncontrollable vomiting. He went to the VA hospital 20 times. They prescribed numerous legal drugs, none of them which could help him. So finally he turned, like many sufferers of the Gulf War syndrome do, to marijuana, and he found relief. And how do we thank him? We steal his fucking house. That's wrong. That's wrong. Another injustice is the East Side Narcotics Task Force. We allow them to engage in terrorist tactics, destroying homes and traumatizing children, house after house after house. That's unjust. It's unjust that Will Foster, who grows marijuana for his own personal medical reason, should be sentenced to 93 years in jail in Oklahoma. The drug war needs to change. 80% of our forfeitures occur where no individual was charged with a crime. I think this is such an injustice, and we don't have to look farther than our own law of Washington to see the problems with this law. So I'm going to read the 3 pillars of the Washington State forfeiture law. Tenet number 1, and this is in the Hemp Voters Guide if you saw this last year. Number 1, in cases involving personal property, the burden of producing evidence shall be upon the person claiming to be the lawful owner of the property. That's you. That's not the cops. If they plan something, it's up to you to prove it. If your friend has a joint in your car and they take your car, it's your responsibility to prove it. There's no due process in that, and there's no justice in that. So why does it happen? We look at the next 2 pillars of the Washington State forfeiture law. Number 2 is, each seizing agency shall remit to the state treasurer an amount equal to 10% of the net proceeds of any of the property forfeited. And the final pillar, what happens to the other 90%? Forfeited property and the net proceeds not required to be paid to the state treasurer shall be retained by the seizing law enforcement agency. And that That is an invitation for corruptness. It is no longer a balanced justice system that we're supposed to have in the United States. The forfeiture laws and the drug war needs to change.
Stealing it!